a hopeful woman gets trapped in a sketchy job. Making matters worse, a serial killer takes an interest in her, thus beginning a cat-and-mouse chase and a fight for survival. In the middle of nowhere, a woman calls out for help, unaware of a man targeting her from afar. She starts running, so the man pulls the trigger, landing a bolt at the woman's back. He then approaches the wounded woman and ends her life with a gun. Afterward, he buries her in a shallow grave, then puts away her bracelet in his wooden chest. On another day, Bob shows off the deer he just hunted to Sheriff Tom. The new deputy in town, Dwight, soon joins them, impressed by the catch. Colin also passes by, and the sheriff jokingly claims that his crown as a famed hunter is about to be stolen by Bob. Later, Dwight eats at Colin's diner, allowing the owner to get to know him. Dwight shares that he just moved in with his wife, though they don't have kids yet. Colin assures him that their town is great for raising children. Elsewhere, Fred picks up Diana at the airport. Diana won a dance contest at a bar, wherein a talent scout happened to be there and recruited her for a job in town. As they drive into town, however, Tom pulls them over and breaks Fred's taillight as he approaches. He then claims that the broken taillight is why they stopped them, so he directs Fred to Dwight to get his citation. While he's busy, Tom checks in on Diana, seemingly interested in her. After the encounter, Dwight asks the sheriff why he stopped Fred. Tom merely explains that there are fewer women in the town than men, so a new lady creates new opportunities. That night, Dwight returns home to find his wife, Carly, failing to fix the dishwasher. Troubled by the sheriff's claim about new ladies in town, he presents Carly with a t-shirt to declare that she's in a relationship, noting that if anyone bothers her, she should tell them that she's not available. At dinner later, Dwight shares with his wife that the town has the most missing persons cases in America. Carly jokes that it's probably aliens, but her husband recalls that the sheriff thinks it's because of the expansive land where people can easily get lost. Bothered, Carly wonders if they shouldn't have moved there, so her husband approaches her and assures her that she'll like the town eventually. Meanwhile, Tom talks to his wife, Janine, over speakerphone, complaining about how Dwight acts like he knows everything, so he promises to straighten him out. On his wife's side, she laments that she needs to stay longer at her mother's. She then tells him about a package that arrived before she left, so Tom checks and finds a sniper scope. Interested, he ends his call with his wife. At a club in town, patrons are entertained by alluring dancers. Diana is horrified that this is what's expected of her, so she calls her father asking for money to return home. This, however, ends with her having a screaming match with her mother. During this, the club owner, Jack, pays Fred for bringing her in. However, he warns that another woman named Carol hasn't shown up. If she doesn't return, Fred has to find a replacement. Diana then asks to speak to Fred privately, but the man demands that she pay him back for the plane ticket and the advance for her lodgings that he already paid for. With no choice, Diana checks out her room only to find that she has to share it with a lady of the night, Rita. Fred's also taken Diana's driver's license and her family's information during her application, so if she tries to run off, he'll come after them instead. After Fred leaves, Rita also heads out to work, leaving Diana to settle into her new life alone. Rita later goes into a store to buy something, not noticing another woman of the night getting into a car. Later into the night, the same woman's screams can be heard in a house. The following day, Dwight checks the board bearing the missing people from the town. He later raises to Tom how most of the cases are troubled women, but the sheriff excuses that those ladies were questionable jobs, so it's not surprising if they just left. He warns Dwight against looking too much into a case he's not assigned to, like what he did back in California. The deputy defends that he quit his job after the mayor, who had a history of drunk driving, hit a woman and left her disabled. Still, Tom advises him to just focus on his job and hope that he'll get promoted to detective so he can do the investigations. Days later, Diana ends up working at a club, though one night she notices a woman getting escorted away. After her shift, she complains to Fred how small her salary is. The man excuses that he took the payment for her room, plus the interest that comes with it. He then advises her to do more dancing if she wants money before driving off. The woman from earlier then approaches Diana, asking if she'd seen her missing daughter, Susan. Diana tells her that she just came into town, but the woman badgers her with questions, desperate to find her daughter. Finally, a bouncer tells her off, so the mother leaves. Late that night, Rita catches Diana counting her savings, which isn't much. Like Fred, she advises the newbie to do more than dance. Realizing how corrupt this business is, Diana begs Rita to tell someone if she disappears, asserting that if she does, it means that something bad happened. That weekend, Tom, Dwight, Colin, and Bob go hunting and capture a deer. While Tom and Bob take the deer into a truck to haul it back into town, Dwight and Colin take the latter's plane back. As they travel, Dwight wonders why Colin Colin didn't partake in the hunt earlier, given that he's supposedly famous for it. The man explains that it was just too easy for him. Later, the deputy and his wife join the esteemed hunter in his cabin. Carly, however, doesn't like hunting as a sport since it's just about shooting guns. Colin defends that it takes knowledge as well, like knowing where the beast will go to rest when it gets tired from running. Despite this, Carly isn't impressed and expresses it to her husband as they head out. Before they drive away, Dwight takes notice of Colin's parked car, a white Wagoneer. Once they're gone, Colin takes his wooden chest from the fireplace, revealing that he's the man who hunted the woman in the fields. He starts arranging the jewelry he'd taken from his victims, relishing the memories of his past hunts. That evening, Diana takes Rita's advice and presents more of herself to the club's patron, earning her tips. Jack watches this from afar, and soon, he motions for the DJ to cut the music and lights to end the performance, much to the men's disappointment. Diana later counts her tips but throws a tantrum since it's still not enough to get out of the club. Jack even reminds her that she's not allowed to completely show herself on stage, so she should do something else to earn extra. After fueling herself with liquid courage, Diana returns to the floor to try a different approach. She chooses a man who's sitting quietly alone, but it turns out to be Colin. Rita, who's on stage, soon notices her roommate leaving the club with him. The two end up in his car where Colin notices her nervously playing with her necklace. The man starts asking about her family and learns that she doesn't have any living close by. The topic makes Diana hesitate about what she's doing, so she suddenly asks the man to drop her off. Colin parks the car to let her out, so the woman thanks him, assuring him that she just has issues with a job. However, before she can step out, the man suddenly grabs and chokes her until she passes out. Moments later, her screams can be heard in Colin's house. The man soon steps out of the room she's kept in and goes to wash the blood off the pliers he just used. Afterward, he prepares a syringe for his captive. In the morning, Diana wakes up in a vast field without her clothes. Tearfully, she looks around, desperate to find anyone to help her. She soon makes her way to a wooded area to shelter her from the sun. To her surprise, she reaches a clearing where Colin has parked his plane. He sets up his crossbow, telling her that he'll give her a 15-minute head start, so Diana speeds away. She hides in some shrubbery, but soon finds Colin nearing, so Diana continues running, unaware of the footprint she is leaving behind. Eventually, the woman arrives at a riverside and stops to catch her breath. Only then does she notice her footprints, so she desperately tries to hide them. However, she realizes that it's pointless, so she diverts to another plan. Soon, Colin reaches the riverside and sees that her footprints end toward the water since Diana has resorted to running downstream to avoid leaving footprints. She soon gets back on land and rests behind a tree, only to find a snake crawling towards her. She slowly attempts to move away, only to find Colin nearby. Because of this, she retreats behind a tree, only for the snake to bite her. Her yelp alerts Colin on where she is, so he loads his crossbow and Diana runs off. She soon hides under tall grass, and as Colin searches for her, she tosses a rock into the river, diverting his attention. With him turned away, she runs to the other side of the river and hides. Her captors impressed that she is using her brains, calling out to her that she's smarter than her family thinks. Diana keeps herself from responding to this, prompting Colin to start searching elsewhere. Once he's away, Diana mourns for her situation before continuing her escape. In the afternoon, Colin goes back to his plane to get his gun while Diana washes herself from the river. Elsewhere, Fred barges into Rita's room to find Diana. The irate woman, however, tells him to leave. After he does, however, she recalls what Diana asked her to do if she disappeared. She then checks her roommate's stash of money, and seeing that it's still there, she worries about what happened to the woman. At the diner, Dwight learns that Colin didn't show up, which the waitress notes happens now and then. This makes the deputy curious. Later, Diana discovers an abandoned campsite, so she takes the risk and screams for help. When no help comes, the woman scavenges the trash around, finding only a loose shirt to cover herself and her wounded feet. Suddenly, things go quiet, alerting Diana that something's happening. Soon enough, Colin appears, firing his gun at her while the woman runs. Diana later reaches a gorge and climbs. Colin follows her, only for the woman to drop a stone on his head, causing him to fall. She screams her anger at the man, then considers taking his gun. However, she decides that it's too risky to approach him, so Diana takes off instead. Meanwhile, Rita reports Diana's disappearance, insisting that her roommate wouldn't have left without taking her money. However, the officer she talks to insists that they need to wait 48 hours before declaring the woman as missing. This angers Rita, so she storms off. However, Dwight stops her, having heard what she said. In the wilderness, a tired Diana spots smoke in the distance. She hides at first, suspecting that it's a trap. Ultimately, she decides to take the risk, unaware that Colin has woken up. The woman races in the direction of the smoke and screams for help. A man suddenly grabs her, but she panics and hits her head on a tree trunk. The man and his sons check in on the fallen woman and clothe her before taking her back to their camp. Meanwhile, Dwight questions Fred about Diana's disappearance. Fred claims that he hasn't spoken to Diana, but Rita asserts that she doesn't speak to him because he threatens them. The man denies this, leading to an altercation until Dwight tells the woman to back off. This allows Fred to try to convince the deputy that he should be looking into more important cases than a runaway dancer. However, Rita convinces the bouncer to tell the cop what he saw, so the man reveals that he saw Diana leaving with a man last night. The man drove a white Wagoneer, which Dwight recognizes as Colin's car. At camp, Diana has awakened but is in shock and unable to speak. Seeing this, the father tells his sons that they have to help her. Since their plane won't pick them up until tomorrow afternoon, the father decides to go to the nearest highway to find help. His younger son, Pete, worries about Diana, so his father just explains that she might have suffered cruelty before they found her. He then tells his older son, Dave, to run with his brother if anyone else shows up. Dave asks what he'll do about the woman, but his father asserts that he and his brother are more important if that happens. Unbeknownst to them, Colin's already nearby watching them. Later that day, Dwight shares his suspicions with Carly, but she discourages him from suspecting his friend. She reasons that ladies like Diana skip town all the time, and when this doesn't convince her husband, she yells at him, asserting that if he gets fired again, they'll have nowhere else to go. Meanwhile, Dave checks in on Diana, who's calmed down. When she eyes his utility knife, he places it down and apologizes for her situation before walking away. Back in town, Dwight goes to Colin's house and sees it empty. He then notices a locked room, so he goes through a window to find the key. As he does, he notices the wooden chest, only for Tom to catch him. The sheriff scolds him, revealing that the neighbor reported him trespassing. Dwight defends that he's investigating Diana's case, but Tom reminds him that the woman wanted to leave town since she arrived while her roommate is untrustworthy. He then tells the deputy that Colin sometimes goes out hunting alone. However, Dwight suggests putting together the timeline when Colin hunts alone and matching them with the disappearances around town. This offends the sheriff, so Tom berates him before driving off. When Dwight gets back home, he finds that Rita's there. She badgers him with questions, but the deputy reveals that he can't do anything for Diana right now. Still, Rita gives him Diana's picture, hoping that he'll still find her. As the sun sets, Diana's fallen asleep in camp, only to wake up and hear Colin's voice outside. The man is speaking to the brothers, who apparently know him from town. He convinces the brothers that he could carry the woman into his plane to take her to the hospital. Hearing this, Diana eyes the blade Dave left. However, Dave suspects him and refuses to let him take the woman. Because of this, shots are fired, and Diana can only weep silently as she sees Pete drop dead. When Colin checks the tent, he finds that the woman is gone, so he leaves his gun to dispose of the bodies first, allowing the woman to take it. Even at gunpoint, the man is merely impressed at the first woman who nearly got away from him. He then tells her that the best way to lure out prey is with bait. With this, Diana pulls the trigger, only to find that it's empty. The man laughs, noting how she just placed her fingerprints on the rifle that killed the brothers. This has Diana dropping to her knees, tired and defeated. Finally, Colin takes her necklace, thinking he's victorious. However, Diana stabs his leg with Dave's knife and bites off his ear before running off. With her gone, the wounded Colin uses the brother's first aid kit to tend to his wound first. In the wilderness, Diana finds the brother's father slumped on the ground, seemingly dead. Even though the man tried to help her, she takes his shoes and an apple from his bag, driven to survive. As the sun starts to set, the woman discovers a rope bridge across the river. This finally leads her to a dirt road, but as she walks, Colin catches up and shoots her in the arm. Despite this, Diana keeps walking, and with her captor also wounded, he struggles to catch up. Eventually, a van drives by and hits Diana. The two men in the van panic, so they hoist her into the back of the vehicle. Just then, they hear a pop as one of the tires has flattened. They scramble to change the tires, but as Diana hears the commotion, she realizes that Colin is nearby. As expected, the man aims a gun at the men, only to find another car approaching. One of the men tries to flag down the other car, only for the driver to ignore him. Meanwhile, his friend realizes that their tire was shot with a gun. During this, Diana desperately climbs into the driver's seat to make her escape. Colin finally reveals himself, so the men dive away as he starts shooting. However, Diana puts the van in reverse, running over her tormentor. She then speeds forward, running over him again before disappearing into the night. Finally, Diana makes it back to town, but due to her wounds, she passes out on the side of the road. Passers-by eventually take notice and call the paramedics. However, the traumatized woman sees anyone as a threat, so she goes berserk as she's taken away. This convinces the police that she's insane and that she killed Colin and the brothers in cold blood. Dwight doubts this, and fortunately, Tom entertains his suspicions, so they head to Colin's house to investigate. They break into the locked door where they discover restraints and a bloody mattress. With this, Colin's crimes finally come to light. Meanwhile, Diana recovers in the hospital, though she's still defensive about anyone, thus needing her to be restrained to her bed. Soon, Dwight visits the victim, only to find that Rita is also waiting in the lobby to see her roommate. Before they can talk, officers report that Diana is missing after chewing through her restraints. 10 months later, a well-dressed Diana has moved towns and flirts with a man in his car, only to shoot him in the face. She adds him to her list of predators she's killed as she uses her trauma to fuel her revenge against those preying on women.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.